business, the first name we had was LW's Production Enterprise, and then I changed to LW's Designs because we're more of a fashion company than craft. I was in the arts class at school, and I had an uncle. He was leaving the country at the time, and he gave to me a wallet, and I never wanted that wallet to get deteriorated. So what I did, I went to these material shops on Regent Street, and I bought a half yard a leatherette, and I kind of cut and patch the wallet, and after a while it get damaged again. So what I decided to do was go and buy another half yard of material and make a complete one. That's how I made my first wallet. I just look at what I had and I made one, and then I started making pencil cases and sewing them by hands in school while I was still in school. And it became a hit because my friends, they wanted. So what they did, they would pay $260 for me to make one for them. And then after I upgraded, I started putting on the names on them. And very much that's how it started. After I finished school, I just liked what I was doing. I realized that I was getting money for pencil cases, and I started doing passport cases. And then while I was still in school, during the lunch period, and so I would make passport cases and sell it to people around the area and so on Regent Street, and they would buy it, my friends and so on. So after I came out to school, I just said, well, I could do this as a business. The truth is, when I started this business, it wasn't a future. It was just a means of getting some money. So at the time, I hadn't really any challenges because I was just thinking, well, if I sell a couple passport cases, I can get some money. So basically, I really had no challenges then. But after you realize that it wasn't making any sense, the challenge was capital, because it wasn't just me sitting by hand and making a couple passport cases to get money. It was a business then that required some amount of energy and input. My mother used to work at the Spice Dish, and the owner of the Spice Dish, she became like a mentor, a mother, and she let me use a house opposite them that they had. So I started there, and I did a takeaway lunch. I can remember I did a takeaway lunch to help pay for my first heavy duty machine. I have some neighbors that they had given me a small machine. It was very old. So after a while working with it, it started, every minute I had to go fix it. So I did a takeaway lunch and I started. I was living in Kitty at the time. So when I came to Grove, I was completely independent. So it wasn't just about getting a little bit of money. It was about finding a job, keeping a job, growing a business, right? So I had to make enough money to pay bills, find food, and I was doing management at the time, and classes and so on. So I had to balance everything, and just selling a couple of wallets wouldn't do. I can't remember completely how I heard about GYBT, but what I do know is that the first time I borrowed a loan was $100,000. At the time, I thought $100,000 was a lot of money, and it would have been, However, I borrowed $100,000, and then after that, I borrowed about $45,000 for a seasonal loan. I think it was for an event, and I had to get some money. And then after that, the third loan was $330-something thousand. But at the end of the day, it was borrowing money for startup was good, but then given where I started from, right? I started this business with no knowledge of it, right? It's just something I liked and I started doing. I had no business, proper business sense other than the usual selling a wallet. I was a little good at costing and pricing, but still didn't have any in-depth education on it. So and experience. I hadn't any experience in growing or expanding. So I think the training that I got from there was even more important at the time than the money. I was doing some on the investment because I wasn't looking at the total picture. I was just looking at the time I needed to get some materials, and I borrowed this money to buy that materials. And the big picture was LW's designs. It's way past craft now, right? It's fashion. It's way past 2 and 3 pieces. It's a whole manufacturing process, right? Which requires enough machinery, personnel, and education, right? And I think the experience that I've gained from then to now I was able to deal with that better. It's not something where you can go to Borough School of Arts and learn how to do my designs, or you can go to school and learn how to design and I just employ you based on your qualification. I would have to train you, and if persons are not dedicated or persons who don't want to learn, it's not very much I can do. Business is serious business. Borrowing money is serious business. Wasting money is serious business, right? So, if you want to do a business, right, just ensure that you at least grab the big picture, right? You can start